Greetings to all, this is Vaibhav Agrawal and we have with us today Advocate Rahul Varma, ex-Master Mariner. So, good day to you, sir. And today we are going to discuss something which is highly relevant in every seafarer's or a mariner's day-to-day life, or by and large, which they face, through their career, the due course of time. Today we are going to discuss, and the first subject of our podcast series, pirates and maritime security. So I feel that this is something that most of those who are currently in the industry and the ex industrymen who have been through all of this roller coaster would be able to relate to this subject more and more. For starters, I would like to know, and I believe so would the viewers, when we talk about piracy, modern piracy has taken a very unique, I would say, drift in the previous 2-3 years. How do we recognize it, and to put it in the most layman terms, what has been the most unexpected development in modern day piracy?
See, first of all, thank you for having me on this show, and we hope to connect with the audience with many more such interesting topics. And it would be our pleasure to connect with the audience for something which is directly connected to them also. And in fact, the topic which you have started off, the piracy, is in direct relation to not only people who must be hearing this podcast to gain knowledge, but also to their day-to-day life. Piracy is something which a seafarer, a ship owner, a charterer, a cargo owner, or anyone who is into the business of shipping does not want. Why? Because it's a cost. In order to run a ship safely from one place to another, why should I bear that extra cost?
Right.
And if that extra cost I have to bear, where does it go? Who is finally going to pay for it? Somebody will say the ship owner, because it's his ship and he has to secure it. Somebody may say the charterers, because they've got the cargo to move and they'll be paying a heavier charter for asking the ship owners to go through some area where their ship can be in danger. Some may say the seafarers, because there are quite a few guidelines, quite a few companies which pay some extra bonus to them. But ultimately, all that money is paid by you and me when we go to buy that loaf of bread, because all that cost adds up to that one loaf of bread which you want to buy.
Correct.
And finally, it is distributed to everybody who paid for it. Now, considering that piracy is something which nobody wants, then who wants and why they want? Obviously, the answers are not very clear. Some people say that it is for ransom, but I believe if it was for ransom, then most of the countries which are supposed to be involved in that, and supposedly they are not well to do, I'm not sure how much will they gain out of the amount of money that they get. So most probably it is going to a few pockets out there only, and not the people as such of the country who are benefiting out of the piracy. Some people say that it might be a political agenda where certain countries are trying to see that how to disrupt this traffic in that area. Now either of it does not make sense economically, and that's what we are into: commercial shipping, merchant navy. And none of this makes any sense to us, that why you would like to disrupt a smooth going cargo which is going to earn money for so many people who are doing that business. As you know, that shipping is still considered an adventure.
Right.
It is an adventure. It's only business which is still considered an adventure. Yes, it is a good adventure, and we have heard lot of stories, lot of movies with pirates and captains and all fighting and all. That's all good for the movies, but certainly not good for the life. One more thing which you asked me was that how it has changed. One thing is for sure, we should learn from these pirates that how to quickly innovate in whatever you do.
Rather, I would also say how to be prepared to even counter the countermeasures.
Okay, that is one thing, of course, there. But I would also say that, when you are on a ship, your measures that you can take are very limited also. So we are not having all the kind of facilities to fight back these pirates. And we have to at times be very careful also not to go all out to hurt them or kill them or something like that. But what I am coming to is that they have learned quickly the innovation of everything. For example, they've started using drones.
Right.
They have started using skip boats which are controlled by a remote control. And God knows what all will come now. So the point is the merchant navy itself still has not been able to use drone for something like survey of ships fully. There are only very few cases where we find it can happen. We have still not been able to find ways to use remote boats and all to clean the tanks so that people don't have to go to clean the bottom and things like that. But they have started using it for their own purpose. So maybe we can at least, as somebody says, whatever happens in your life, either you enjoy it or it is an experience for you, which you learn from. So maybe the merchant navy people should learn how to use technology with the way they are experiencing how those fellows are using technology in order to find new ways to attack a ship. And as I told you, two drones and skip boats, which are managed by remotes, are some examples which have come in light. I think many more are there which will come.
Right. Yes.
Let's see. We keep preparing for it.
Correct.
That's all what I can say.
That being said, and we spoke about the attack part and the unmanned automated vehicles being coming more and more into picture. Which regions per se are, one of the most vulnerable to such, or rather, let me just put it the other way around. Which regions are the most active regions in terms of piracy?
Well, those are all declared regions. It is not something that we need to guess about. They all are declared by the IMO, and especially the Red Sea area, the entrance to Oman, and the Suez are the areas which are most heard about these days. However, some smaller issues keep happening also in Southeast Asia, especially near the Singapore Strait or the Indonesian and Malaysian waters. You hear some cases, but they are not actually piracy. Those are more of robbery. So for the moment, I have not come across any other area apart from the Red Sea in last few months where something has come big in news. Maybe some small things are happening, but we'll need to check up. But nothing piracy is there. Robbery is there, where people would come in skip boats, somehow come on the ship, try to get hold of the master or somebody, get the cash from the ship or something, I don't know, important, and just go out from the ship after that. So that is considered a robbery. Piracy is when you hold the ship for ransom,
Right.
and that is only happening in this area around the Red Sea.
This comes from a personal curiosity. Which sort of or which class of ships or vessels are, they are generally a victim to such kind of piracies? Are they just the oil tankers that we see, or even the other ones like bulk carriers or?
The logic will have to be used here. That why should I take up the ship, and with the nationality of the crew, the owner of the ship, and things like that will all come into play. As soon as you think of, start thinking like, if this is my potential client can pay me this much or not, or it will be a ship owner who will say, I don't have, you take the ship and go with it. Who cares? So obviously, smaller ships, medium sized ships, they will not be able to achieve so much of ransom because the value of the ship itself will not be so much that it will be enough for them to pay. So most probably the type of ship may not be the right approach the pirates are using. The approach which pirates are using are that what is the nationality of the crew on board. We know that how easily people, especially in European areas, especially Americans, especially such countries which are well more educated than us and who know their rights better, they start creating such a big issue as soon as they know that any of their countrymen or seamen is under threat or is under some pressure or something like that. But there are hardly any crew members from those nations these days or people from those areas. But then they could be owners or charterers who are related to those areas.
All right.
So most probably, I think they would target the pirates to those countries from where political and civil pressure will be much more higher in order to release a vessel in case they manage to uh, get hold of the ship and in case they manage to go on board and keep them as hostages.
So what we see here is the pirates, they are even on strategical grounds. They are a step ahead of, how they'll connect the dots and get the job done. Coming to the maritime companies to whom these vessels or the crew or the charters, they all belong, how do they perceive the risk of piracy as compared to, nearly a decade ago or back in time?
I stopped sailing somewhere around 2005, and after that, I've been managing ships till 2018. And I've had a as a seafarer, I never had this problem of getting into any area which was something which was infested with pirates or something like that. But I was there in areas which were very seriously known for robbery.
Okay.
I myself, in my junior officer days, have confronted robbers in Nigerian waters when we were there in Anchorage area.
Okay.
So, we used to take rounds on the ship in the night, couple of people to make sure things are right. And I still remember that one person who had climbed up the ship, and while we were taking rounds, we were face to face. I was face to face that with that person. We never had any arms, nothing. We just would have something in our hand just to, for our self security from inside. Oh, all is well, wala,
The
kind
bare
of a
minimum
thing.
that,
The bare
yeah,
minimum that I could have in my hand. And that also we were instructed not to try to harm anybody with it. It was just for the sake that you had something in your hand. And this fellow also was there. And I still remember it was a person who came up and he was a dark skinned person and he came up and he looked at me. I looked at him. I shouted. He kept quiet, and I don't know what he did, but went back. So he came by a rope, and he went by back the rope, and I saw a boat was standing, and I saw him sitting in the boat and going. So that is one of the things which I faced myself, but that was robbery. During that time, also, it was um, more about getting money immediately what was available on the ship, because that time ship masters used to carry a lot of cash also to buy provisions and all, because there were not electronic systems of payments very easily there. And a lot of countries, the people who bought provisions and water and things like that, stores, they were all bought in cash. So they would keep a tab on the fact that how and where this cash was moving.
okay.
So they knew if a cash was delivered to the ship, and then they would target that ship. In modern times, it is more, and unfortunately, again, one of my known ships about 10 years back was taken as hostage, and it was taken in somewhere waters near Kenya, and it was kept under pirates for almost 1.5 years.
Oh,
Fortunately, most of the people came out nicely from there and nothing happened to them. And one thing which those people that time had told was the people who were made to give the security of the vessel. They were tied. The ship was tied in a very remote corner of that whichever country it was, which they never found out which country, because it was
no,
somewhere near Kenya. That was all. But that's all what they
no,
knew.
no further developments on the know abouts or whereabouts of the
No,
vessel.
after a long time they had started contacting, and then the people had started negotiating and all that. So, but the fact was, the seafarers never understood where the ship exactly was, which who were the people they were, which nationality, they didn't understand that, but they knew that those people were security guards now.
Okay.
The bigger problem with they said was that not that they were not treating them very bad or something like that, but of course they were not treating good also. The fact is, by the evening, these people started going crazy, all of them. And they say that a boat used to come and supply them some stuff and food and all every day. And that some stuff was something which they used to chew. So would mean was that it was some addictive stuff which they were using.
Some kind of an intoxication.
Some kind of intoxication which would last almost 12 hours, 24 hours, something like that. And when it started going down, they would again get crazy and again a supply would come. So this tells me that somewhere things are also related to the drug mafia or things like that, apart from just political and cash and things like that which we are talking about. So these are some dimensions of piracy which have been growing. Of late, as I told you, it has got restricted to certain areas only, and I cannot remember a major piracy case happening because fortunately our Indian forces, the Indian naval forces have done a great job in recent times. Some other country naval forces along with the Indian forces also have done a great job. So somewhere these governments have got together now. So fortunately attacks are happening, but they are going futile and nothing major has happened in last many years which I know.
Um, in my mind, it comes a few years back. There was a case which is still sane as to what you said relatively. I believe 5 to 6 members, crew members, and 2 of them were captains on some of the tanker vessels. And it was a case of piracy where they were captives for, I believe, 45 to 50 days, and they were served, 5 of them were just served with a single plate of Maggie every day.
Could be.
In 24 hours. And the ransom was obviously, I believe it was a multi-million-dollar deal. So yeah, if I'm not making a mistake, it was back in 2018 or 19. I may be wrong here. So yeah. So is it so that what kind of efficient countermeasures could these shipping companies or the vessels could be acquainted with so that such kind of piracies or robbery attacks could be taken care of by the crew itself? Or at the moment they are absolutely,
as a crew, first of all, you're not trained to do something like that.
the question would be why?
I'll tell you. I'll come to it. Second, you need to understand when you are on a ship, apart from a seafarer, you are also a civilian. You are
Right.
not a naval person or an army person who's trained into arms or fighting with people. Your job is to commercially run the ship.
Correct.
Now, if you expect that person to go and fight people who have got most modern guns, which can shoot from 100, 200 meters, still aim the best, and maybe in 1 minute they can shoot 100 bullets, it will be too much to ask for that person what he can do. What he can do is, till the time those people are in water, to use his ship, which he can move around in ample of water, to try to outmaneuver them. Again, you can outmaneuver them, but not outspeed them, because they've got a very good
true.
speed.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
When you say outmaneuver is, you're trying to run over them or shoo over them or something like that. But having said that, if you are getting the, at least in piracy case, if your company is taking the protection, if your company has shown in past that they have made sure that all the crew members safety is much more important to them than just to transiting, you should very well join them, because if the measures taken are good enough, normally it does not result into any big problem. However, if you have not, then you should not. And I can very proudly tell you, while working in my previous company, when one of my ship owners had refused to give security guards to one of my ships, which was supposed to transit in Red Sea, I'd actually told the master to refuse sailing. And I refused the company that my people will not sail till the time you give them security guards. So I was on the verge of where I could have lost the fleet of ship that these owners had given to our company, because I was adamant that if my ship moves, it will move only with security guards and all other security measures taken. Otherwise, you can do what you want. I was threatened that the fleet of the ships we have given you for management will be taken away. I said, I don't care about it. Finally, they gave us the people, Finally, they gave us the security guards, and our master and other people happily sailed with all peace of mind. So, as a seafarer, please think and then do.
So I believe that clears a lot of dilemma and several questions that have been answered and many more to be cleared in the upcoming episodes. So thank you so much for being such a patient audience. This is Vaibhav Agrawal and stay tuned with us for getting more such maritime related questions answered in the following episodes.